Right, welcome back, everybody. So the D School is famous for many things, one of which is they make sure you never go hungry. So I hope you had the snacks on legs and on feet, snacks and drinks, and everybody feeling suitably filled up or fueled up for this afternoon. Right, it is 3:30-ish, and we have an hour with Jenni and her team. So I'd like to introduce Jenni before we go any further. A little bit of introduction to Jenni. I've had the privilege of working with her for the last couple of months, and also we share a surname, so they keep asking if we're sisters. I see we're both grey. I'm not sure what else, Jenni.
You're greyer than me.
Oh, no. All right, so maybe a little bit about Jenni. Jenni is an independent consultant to the D School Africa. So Jenni has been responsible for growing the Afrikan Design Thinking Network, and she's been leading our African design thinking stories and languages, of which you're going to hear a lot more now, and particularly tomorrow morning. Jenni has a academic background in social anthropology and a master's in communication for development purposes. Jenni really loves bringing people together, I can vouch for that, and weaving diverse insights towards collaborative action. That's her speciality for sure. And I'll have you know that this whole event has been curated by Jenni van Niekerk. I think she needs a hand for that. Jenni is also a family lady. She's a mommy of two very busy boys. When I have a meeting with her, there's one hanging down from the ceiling fan, or someone's brought a frog in from outside or something like that. Jenni lives about 2 hours from here towards the east in a beautiful, beautiful town called Swellendam. Jenni, we look forward to hearing from you and your team. Jenni.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for coming. This is all about you, and I'm so excited to see everyone here, some who I've seen or met in Nairobi or in Kigali, or through online conversation circles, and all the people that have been with us over the years. It's super exciting to see everyone in the room together. So, as Annie said, I've gone from this curator hat and backstage orchestration to the other hat that I wear most of the time, which is network orchestration, weaving. And as Annie said, that is my passion. If I look at all my notebooks over the years, when I got most excited and need to journal, they always look like webs, because I'm going, how can this person work with this person? And these people get together here, well, they do that there. And this is really how I think and see the world. So I am so honored to have the role of building and growing this network and bringing people together. So why do networks matter? Oh, I have a clicker. How does it work? Like that. The world is made of networks, from the tiniest atoms and molecules and how they organize themselves, to urban transport systems and forest ecosystems. Networks are everywhere. And they matter at this time, because when we decentralize, we shift and decentralize power, and we really bring in the power of human collaboration. Collaboration is our superpower. It's said in the Future of Innovation is Collective, in the Stanford Social Innovation Review, that collaboration is our superpower. Our capacity to coordinate at scale is one of humanity's greatest strengths and a key to regenerative futures. Where we've been separated, we've been dominated, and this is the opposite of that. It is working together to meet our human needs. So here we all are, both in this room and online, and I want to really welcome excitedly all those who are joining us from all over the place. And here we are, gathering with a common interest, weaving together our stories, our practices, our knowledge, starting to explore perhaps what could be possible when we work together. So on our own, we are isolated, but together, if we coordinate, we really can achieve perhaps what Pumla sets out as African life-centered design. It's not up to Pumla. It's going to be up to us working together to make a new future for design thinking possible that matters in our context. And this leads us to why the Afrikan Design Thinking Network was born. Diego had a much more beautiful slide than that this morning, showing all the people who are already part of this. And I know a lot of you have been following this journey. So we are here in the session today to launch the next evolution or iteration of the Afrikan Design Thinking Network. Some of you have been on the journey, for some it might be new. We are launching the next chapter of that, and also at the same time launching the African chapter of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. And then celebrating the partnership between these. So we're going to lay out for you what this all means, together with the people we have with us today. And I'd like to introduce John Ngila and Stephen Kagwathi from the African Nazarene University in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much for being with us. Richard Perez, who needs no introduction at this point, but as D-School Africa also has been the host and driver and initiator behind this network. Richard, as director of D-School, is also a member of the Global Design Thinking Alliance, and so are John and Stephen with Afrikan Nazarene University. We then have joining us online Hoda Mostafa from the American University of Cairo, and she is joining us there. Hello, Hoda. Thank you so much for joining us. She is not able to be here, but her colleagues are present with us from AUC as well. So we're very excited. Riham, Rola, and Sophie are here. All right. And we will be coming to some others in the room shortly. Okay. So this is why, because networks matter, that we are welcoming individuals and organizations across Africa to help shape and grow a collaborative community for teaching and learning design thinking for our contexts. All right, so to tell us a little bit more about this network, I invite John. John, can you share with us a little bit how we've set out the purpose, the intentions, and what's important in the African network?
Thank you, Jenni. And really, Jenni, I always tell her that, she's doing, she's building the future, because the future really is networks and collaborations. But I think as I start, I want to start with a quote from Chinua Achebe, which he says, "Stories are not innocent." And therefore, this week, we are going to write a story, an African story, and that is the Afrika Design Thinking Network. So, the intentions of the Afrika Design Thinking Network really is to build capacity and leadership on the continent with local impact and global influence. So that's the underlying intention of the Afrika Design Thinking Network. And basically, this is rooted in our shared passion for human-centered innovation, and I believe that everyone who is here is passionate about human-centered innovation, and our members aim to nurture Africa's creative potential to solve complex challenges. And I always say it's not just complex, but also most pressing challenges, because we're in a continent where we have some really pressing challenges. To support, the intention is also to support change makers and innovators. We need design thinking education and practice that reflects our diverse social, cultural, and economic realities and is grounded in our indigenous traditions of collaboration and problem solving. And I think our guest this morning really did justice to that. Pumla, thank you so much. No one person or institution can do this alone. In the spirit of Ubuntu, we are building an active network of role players to weave a tapestry from our diverse experiences and undertake collaborative projects for collective benefit. And I think this one is very key when we're looking at this network. Our network is connected to the Global Design Thinking Alliance through the African chapter of the GDTA, and it's elevating African voices in the global design thinking community. And therefore, we will tell you more about that in a moment. So we'll have a moment to talk about GDTA chapter. So thank you very much, Jenni, for the great work.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, John, thank you so much. To tell us a bit about what is the idea behind this network and how do we see it working and unfolding and leading to this great vision we have. Richard, could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. So it's actually been quite an interesting journey for me because the concept of networks is actually real science behind it. My background being an engineer, initially thought, okay, networks will just grow organically, and we'll do one or two things and see how it evolves. But actually, there's a real science behind it, and the work that Jenny's been doing and some of the consultants that we've got on board have been really guiding us to make sure that we set up networks in the right way, so that they basically set up for success. And at a very high, well, not a high level, but at a very simple level, there's theories of change that sit behind networks. You've got to do certain things which lead to certain things. And for us, the key focus is going to be around just the initial connecting. One of the things that we've been doing over the last few years since the Decon Festival, it was about 3 years ago, is just finding out who's out there and just connecting them and seeing if those relationships can find each other and start to find projects which interest them. But somebody needs to create those connections. They do happen organically, but if you can engineer them and get people into a room, a bit like this convening, very much connecting to see where things evolve from. So the convening members is about building the relationships. It's facilitating conversations and to increase understanding of really the design thinking ecosystem. Then there's the coordinating. So it's running events, it's resourcing, it's learning, and it's sort of in some ways making sense of what we're doing. And Jenny will talk a little bit about those later on, but it's about creating moments where we can have conversations, online conversations, physical convenings like this, showing up at other events across the continent where there's perhaps a design thinking voice of some sort, so people can find each other in those places. And Jenny would have mentioned we were in Nairobi last year, I think it was, or the year before, last year, just with the ecosystem there, and then recently with the Education Collaborative about a year ago, also that was in Kigali. So there's a number of platforms out there where the design thinking can show up, and it's just making sure that we're there and we're coordinating events that might happen. And then the output of that is the co-creation. People start to find each other. People start to find commonality in projects and interests, whether it's programs, whether it's research, or whether it's just knowledge sharing. And that's a critical part. So the co-creation is about sharing the design thinking knowledge that we have, teaching resources that we have, evolving the curriculum and learning from each other. And we'll talk a little bit about some co-creation activities that have already started to happen, which has been really, really exciting. And the idea is if you build that scaffolding, it will lead to some sort of systems impact. We're not there yet. I think we're sort of in the connecting, coordinating, dabbling in the co-creation space. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And it's really convenience like this where we're looking to get more people involved so more connections can be made so that we can realize this theory of change in reality. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. A key here is who is the we that you're speaking about. And it's not just we, the D School. It's we, the members of the network. It's everyone. So that coordinating is what happens once you connect people, right? That they can coordinate among each other. Groups can form and start buzzing around interest groups that are of value and that they're motivated to work on. So that's the big shift here, is it's not just about the D School at kind of the hub that's feeding this to others. It's about the network rising up and creating a thriving community on its own. Yeah. And the network coordination supporting that. Right. So, let us hear a little bit more about who is this network really for? Who are we aiming at? And what does it mean to be a member, a network member? And it's not in the sense of sort of strict membership criteria, but there is something we're asking of members, and also something that members stand to gain. So Stephen is going to share with us about that.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, members. Indeed, I think we have had several proverbs and sayings. In fact, in the morning we heard that if you want to lead the continent, really, the different candles need to connect. And we have a Swahili saying, and I have people from Tanzania that says, one finger cannot kill a louse. So we need to work together to do this. So, network members, we are committed to the growth of design thinking, education, and practice in African context, and are willing to, actively contribute to the network. We welcome individuals and organizations, and this is where Jenny is coming to. So there is individual and organization who teach, learn, or research design thinking, offer learning, innovation, building programs in the field, apply design thinking, that is in the real world context, and who wish to contribute knowledge building for African education context. So that is important for us. Individual members may include educators, facilitators, researchers, student innovators, professional and practitioner. Then organizational members may include academic institutions, research centers, learning communities, organization, working in the design thinking, innovation, incubation, or capacity building. So network will thrive with members who get on the field and play the ball, not just fans and spectators. So there is a commitment we need to make, and not necessarily financial, but commitment to contribute to the network overall goal.
That's great.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much. Brandon, could you make the slide bigger and the speaker notes smaller for us, please? Thank you. You have very good eyes, Stephen. Thank you. So there we go. Right. So to our next slide, I'm going to speak a little bit about this. As Stephen was saying, it's not just about what can I get. A strong network thrives when it attracts the energy and contributions and energy of its members. So leadership becomes distributed and collective, all right? And so it's really about a good sports game, right? You can't just do with fans and spectators. You need people who are going to get in on the field and play ball. So it's really about that. So what we ask members to commit to doing is really advancing the shared purpose, that we're all working towards that. And that's why we're inviting people in. If you connect and are motivated and see the importance of that shared purpose, and to be able to build relationships, to commit to connecting and building with others, taking the initiative, sharing your knowledge, sharing your experience, giving feedback, helping to grow the well-being of the overall community. And in return, you benefit through being part of something that is bigger than yourself, and through the collective benefit from something that we can only do together, a purpose that we wouldn't be able to fulfill on our own as institutions or individuals. So there's really something greater that we can work towards. And so you also would benefit from access to these collective resources, to shared community, and to the possibilities of what emerges when we do start working together and say that we did that. So yeah, there's mutual thriving. The network is strengthened by its members, and the members are strengthened by the network. Right. Do you want to speak to that, Stephen?
Yeah, I can speak about followers. This is not everyone need to join. I mean, and that's the beauty of the network, that you don't need, not everyone need to join as a network members to be part of the journey. Followers are people interested in design thinking, education in Africa context, who would like to, stay connected, learn from the community, and participate in selected events and opportunity. So followers can be, can subscribe to our newsletter, join our LinkedIn community, attend selected public events and conversation, and also access shared resources and updates. So this is a great way to stay connected to the evolving field, as we have seen this morning, and community without being an active member. By offering more active contribution, followers can then now go to the next level. Thank you, Jenni.
Right. So within the network, as we're saying, it really, the network grows when the people contribute. And so what we hope to see is through connecting to each other and finding common interest groups that you'll begin to, some people just come to learn and get from the resources or attend a conversation circle and listen and meet others, but others will step in and take action. And so we find groups that begin to form around collaborating and co-creating together. And we've already seen some of these emerging. So the relationships that started happening between the D School and other African institutions actually started with the DT in Africa program. So Lucille, are you in the room? Lucille was upstairs a moment ago looking. So the DT in Africa partners, you can even, they're among some of you. That's where we started seeing. So there's a little action circle of people who are working together. Then we began to grow the African Design Thinking Stories initiative coming together. We had an advisory group of people that stepped in and said, I want to help grow this. I put my hand up. Let's do this. We had an ad hoc sort of communications working group when we said, how are we going to connect people? What platforms are we going to use? People jumped in and said, I'll help and we can figure this out together. So we're looking after the network and gaining from it simultaneously. It's like a village, right? Enabled by digital means and sometimes, hopefully, physical convenings as well, like this. So one of the important circles in that, and that brings us to the next part of this session, is the GDTA Africa chapter. So this is a circle of members within the African network who have also become members of the Global Design Thinking Alliance because of certain membership criteria that they meet, because of where their institutions have got to in design thinking. And we currently have 4, and there may be more that can emerge on our continent, and we hope to see that. So to tell us a bit about the Global Design Thinking Alliance and take us into this Africa chapter conversation, I invite Uli to come join us on stage. Thank you very much. Uli Weinberg is the president of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. Thanks, Uli. Welcome.
Thank you, Jenni.
Do you want to sit where you're comfortable?
I can sit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So Uli is also the founding director of the HPI School of Design Thinking in Potsdam, and now president of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. Uli, tell us a little bit about the GDTA, please.
Actually, I'm so delighted to see that network growing, because when I was here, one of the last times, there was, I think, 22 at the official opening here. You were gathering, Richard was gathering some people from all around Africa, and we had this nice meeting, and I was thinking, wow, what a potential. And now it's there. It's there, and I'm so happy to see that, and also to see the GDTA growing. And actually what we're doing today, it reminds me to remember 9 years ago, at our 10th anniversary in Potsdam, at the D School, Potsdam, we thought it would be a good idea to join forces, because there were just very few D schools around the planet. And some of them we helped to nurture. The one in China was the first, one in Malaysia, then we helped you also to establish here. And we thought it would be a good idea to join forces with the little entities, because what is a D school about? D school is usually a part of a university. Universities are usually institutions constructed with the mindset of the past or previous to past century. And I was always seeing what Joseph Campbell did at the D School at Stanford 20 years ago. I was always seeing at that, looking at that as this is a prototype of the learning environment of the 21st century. This is a prototype of how universities will probably look like all around the planet. But that was just, we're just very, very small units. And we had to fight to get money. And so we thought it would be a good idea to join forces. And this is what we did. At the 10th anniversary, we were getting together, like here, like today, what you're doing with the Afrikan Network. We were bringing together about, I think it was 10 or 11 institutions already, and saying, we start something. We start a network. And up to now, interestingly enough, we are not a legal entity. We are just a network. The GDTA, the Global Design Thinking Alliance, is what we used to start with. A network of like-minded people, like-minded institutions, who all see themselves as innovators, as movers, as people who are driving education in a new direction. And I'm so happy about that we did this, because now we have, you see I can see the slide, we have about close to 50 institutions around the planet in nearly 30 countries, which is amazing. For me, this is so amazing to see there is a network, and it's a growing network. It's not a shrinking one, it's a growing. And if I remember one of my first talks with David Kelly, who was together with you starting the D School at Stanford, and he was saying, you know what, there are so many B schools on the planet. And that was 2007, and the B schools were kind of damaging the whole financial system around the planet at that time. So, and he was saying, we need more D schools. In the future, we need more D schools on the planet, at least as many as B schools. And this is what we are working towards. This is what we are trying to move on and to bring the design thinking spirit to the universities. And I think the time is really right now. We're in very, very interesting times. We're asking, all the universities are really threatened by AI, not by just digital media or so digital activities. No, now AI is threatening these traditional structures from the ground. And I think it is not threatening the design thinking community. It's a challenge. For us, it's one of those complex challenges we like to jump on. And I think it's good for every university, also for UCT here, to think of the D school, the D environments in that school as a transformation engine, and make use of that, make use of the capacities of this institution here. And this is a call to all those dots on the map to really have self-awareness and the selfishness to say, hey, we are used to this kind of challenges, and we can help those people who are now somehow threatened by, there's a new technology, there's new things coming up, AI is threatening us. We can help. We can help to co-creatively design the future of an education system, and it will look very similar to the D School. It will not look like a traditional lecture hall. So I'm really happy that if you look at the map now, it's so great to see so many dots in Africa. And we have 4 members, just 3 of them, actually Hoda, I'm waving to you. 3 of them are sitting here. And we have a 4th one. He's not sitting here. Jewel Thompson.
May we invite you to join us, Jewel?
Jewel, please join us here. So Jewel recently, like a week ago, joined the Global Design Thinking Alliance. And I'm so happy to have you now. And also we had already several talks to other representatives of schools. And maybe like to ask you to share some words.
Absolutely.
Why did you try to get into this kind of community.
No, this is great. And thank you, Uli. Thank you, everyone, as well. You know, this represents a really powerful moment. Our university is a Shasi University, and a Shasi in Fanti means the beginning. So this is obviously the beginning for us. And I feel like this, for the conversations that we've been having all day, represents a collective shift. A lot of us, you know, we have operated from a space of institutional agency, and most of us have kind of used design thinking in our own adaptive ways and practices. Particularly at Ashesi, when it comes to design thinking, we require it as a first-year multidisciplinary experience for all of our students. It is a requirement. And we connect their outputs to entrepreneurship. So beyond the innovations that they create, we're saying to them, what are the ventures that can transform Africa after you go through this first year course? And so coming here today, you know, this is an opportunity to go beyond just what we're doing individually and tie into the collective of what we're all doing practically. And I think that one thing that stood out for me from this conversation took me back to when I came here with my colleague to visit the D School last year in a conversation with Richard, that, you know, with what we're saying, we've been, you know, expounding on the thoughts of, you know, what is Africa coming to say? What are we doing in this collective? And the reality is that this has already existed, right? So what the minority has structured, we have done as the majority already in practice. This comes from our narratives, African storytelling, how we transition or have conversations about our lineage, and from the lineage, oral histories that inspire us to build and create. That's what we've learned from. And that's what it's always been. I remember being young and learning from the stories of Anansi the spider, the mischievous one. And so that taught me, or forayed me into this ethical being. And so now, it's not that it's a lost practice. This has always existed in what we do. And now I think together, and you're saying joining this collective, it's an opportunity for us to listen more deeply to one another and think more thoughtfully about what we can do together from an imaginative perspective. And I think my sister said it earlier about this radical imagination. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to speak, learn, listen, and go back to that storytelling and reframe that for ourselves, because we've already done this in practice. So it's good to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jewel.
Thank you very much, Jewel.
Me.
Maybe John, and would also like to ask Hoda if it's possible.
That's right. Yes, Hoda. Shall we go from our youngest to our oldest GDTA members on the African continent? Shall we hear from John? Yeah. What does it mean?
Yes,
tell us about your.
Yeah. So Afrika Nazarene has been involved with design thinking for 11 years now. And one of the things that we do is we hold an annual innovation week. And basically this week is meant to introduce academia, corporate, NGOs to design thinking. And because of this, we've had quite a number of people in Kenya that are interested in design thinking from that specific program. And therefore, last year, we decided that we also needed to, connect better with these individuals. And so we were also able to launch what we call the Design Thinking Association of Kenya. So those two particular things, things that we're doing at Afrika Nazarene University, but I also want to introduce my colleague Stephen to talk about our curriculum and what we are doing around the curriculum.
Okay. Thank you, John, for that. Indeed, we, as an institution, also moved beyond it being an event. And luckily, because as an event and the drivers were School of Business, so we pushed for adoption of design thinking in the curriculum, and we are happy that the Senate accepted. And now what we have a course, Entrepreneurship and Design Thinking, that is done by second year by all students, not just from business school, but all students across the 5 schools, whether it's religion, law, or name it. And I think that for us was a milestone. Now what we're having is that we have very brilliant idea coming from that class and also from the event, and that has pushed us really to think about maker space, an innovation hub, which we started last year, where now we can be able to nurture these ideas that are coming from the events and also the course to be able now to push it to the next level. So that is where we are as an institution, and we are happy with the progress that we are making. Yeah.
Thanks. Hoda.
You can look at Hoda in the camera over there in front.
Would be great if you could share some thoughts about your cooperation. I have visited the American University in Cairo at your place, the fabulous place. Maybe you can share.
Thank you, Uli. I think we are very blessed at the American University in Cairo to sit in a multicultural, diverse place. We are North Africans, we are part of the Arab culture, we are Egyptian. So we have a very unique space that aligns really nicely with design thinking. At our university, I direct our Center for Learning and Teaching, and this is really where the magic happens when you have an engine of teaching and learning, and then you add design thinking into the mix. Teaching and learning is essentially, at its core, is human-centered. It's user-centered, it's student-centered, it's planet-centered. So it's the ideal space to not only experiment with design thinking, but to grow our capacity as a center in delivering academic integration of design thinking. And this whole this story started in 2019 when Uli invited me to the New York annual conference for the GDTA, and I met Richard. And we'd never met before, but clicked immediately and started plotting and planning for a Design Thinking for Africa movement, Design Thinking for Africa by Africa. And this was really my aha moment of how can we as AUC, we're uniquely placed that design thinking is housed in our Center for Learning and Teaching. It's the largest center for learning and teaching in the region. And we've been able to focus on several things such as design thinking, academic integration into curricula, working closely with faculty, training faculty in our Design Thinking for Educators program, building a coaching program, building it from the ground up within a network and within a community of practice and learning from others, sharing resources, sharing ideas, sharing models and programs, accelerated our ability to do what we've done in a shorter time with very limited resources because of the academic generosity of all the members. I don't think design thinking and teaching and learning tends to attract people who are not only empathetic, but are generous, are wise, are inspiring, and it's just such a pleasure to work with this group. Our university has grown in this area, I think largely because of the people. We've got three of my colleagues are in the room, Lihem, Sophie, and Rola. We've been able to do a lot, and I'm gonna borrow again since we're in the proverb mode, where many flowers bloom. We've got lots of flowers blooming across our campus, and our job as a center is to continue to care for these little mini projects and grow them over time in collaboration and in partnership and in the bond we have with the GDTA and all the wonderful members. And again, being part of the Afrika Design Thinking for Africa network has helped with our identity as a uniquely African space for our voices to reach the global stage. So I'm very excited for both the network and the chapter. And I'll hand it over again to Jenni and Uli. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Hoda, and to your colleagues here. Thank you for being such an active contributor to this network, too.
Yeah. Thank you actually very much. And this is actually the official moment where we launch the African chapter. Why is a chapter a good thing? We tested this 2 years ago in India, and Anirban, who's also a member of the GDTA, and there were 4 institutions in India and joining forces, and 2024 we were saying, let's launch a chapter, let's do another prototype. And then we were looking at Africa, and you were saying, oh, we are in the south, and there's Hoda in the north, and now we have Afrika Nazarene in the east, but there's now no institution in the west, so we cannot start something. But now we found Ashesi University. Now we have north, south, east, west, everything is there. And so this is the official moment to launch the Afrika chapter within the Afrikan network. And I also would acknowledge that Maria Stashenko is there, also a member of the Global Design Thinking Alliance, also being part of that celebration. And tomorrow at your 10th anniversary, then we celebrate, really. So but now, thank you very much for being a member of, and the starting and the founding members of the chapter, the GDTA chapter. Thanks to all of you. Last slide here. I invite all of you, because we have public things going on. It's not only about the members, but we do a lot of things which are public. For example, our next conference in September 29, 30, in India. It will be in South India, in Coimbatore. And Anirban is the co-creator of the whole event. We called it Chaos and Clarity. It took a while to find out. But I think it's a perfect title. So please join. Look at the website, the GDTA website. There's a monthly online session, which we call the Spotlight session. All of you are invited to be a part of that. Next one will happen pretty soon. Raika knows. I forgot. And there's a newsletter. Please get the QR code and hook up to the newsletter. Thank you very much. It was great having you here and great to be a part here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, to symbolize this chapter and how we all weave together our knowledge, our practices, our people from different places, we are creating an actual physical loom as a metaphor for these woven relationships. And to begin our weaving, I am inviting our GDTA member representatives here, as well as Riham, who will represent AUC, to come to the loom and weave a piece through the loom. All right, so please step up. You've been asked, and there will be opportunity for more of you. And as you go off to do that, we'll soon tell you about the journey of how we got to where we are now with the network and where we're going from here. So please, if you could begin our loom for us.
The loom. I never did that.
Yes.
I have no idea how that works.
Now. Lovely. Getting there, there's more to do. And at Loom, we have Zola Ndimande, one of our D-School coaches, who I was so thrilled to hear is also a weaver. So she is guiding our Africa chapter members here, weaving their thread through the loom. And you will all have an opportunity to do the same later.
Takes a bit long. Why don't you
carry on? Now, while our weaving begins, and you begin weaving your conversations again, I want to tell you about how we got to where we are and where we're going from here. So we can continue the weaving later, and at 5 o'clock when we wrap up, we've got some sundowners to celebrate. We'll invite you all to come and add to the tapestry. But let me tell you how we got here so far. All right. So there are many of you in the room. As we explained, we encourage groups to come together and coordinate and collaborate around shared purpose and common interests, right? And one of the circles within our African Design Thinking Network is this GDTA chapter. And the role they play is being able to bridge between the African network and the Global Alliance, right? So they bring in global resources, ideas, learning opportunities through things like the spotlight sessions, while being able to elevate African voices on the global stage. So we hope to see more African speakers in the GDTA spotlight sessions, global design thinking field enriched by African perspectives. So this is the idea. So the GDTA chapter play that role of bridging the African network to the global stage in mutual directions, right? Now, to go back a moment, there are other circles, as I said, where this went right back to, and I'll ask Hoda, if we can bring Hoda onto the screen again, please. She could tell us a little bit about the DT in Africa program. And there are those of you in the room who have been part of that. Who would like to raise their hand? Who have we got? Relitza, right? And Gordon, who was part of Ashesi University, now at CEBS. And who else do we have? University Dar es Salaam, University of Nairobi. Hoda, over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. The Design Thinking for Africa program is an online learning journey where we walk students, learners, through a process where they engage very deeply in an immersive fashion around design thinking. We use an authentic real-world challenge. We partner with a challenge partner, and we've been running our summer Design Thinking for Africa online program for about 5 years now. I would say we're close to 100 students that have taken the program, and what's amazing about this program, it brings together students from each of the universities that are partnering in the DT for Africa program. I think now we're up to 6 or 7 universities, and each university contributes their students' time to this learning journey. We also give them exposure to the power of design thinking in not only problem seeking, opportunity finding, insight building. What does it mean to design with empathy? What does it mean truly to be human-centered? And I think Mugandi said something at the very beginning about we end up looking for problems, for solutions that we need or want. And I think this is the beauty of this experience. It introduces students to falling in love with a problem, finding a problem that they can actually solve or come up with a prototype solution for in the most authentic way possible by experiencing it through the process of design thinking, embracing the mindsets and values of design thinking in a fashion that can be done in the classroom, but this is in fact an Africa classroom online where students get to know each other and they get to work together in groups, and it just sort of brings to life all the things we talk about and all the things we say about design thinking and how powerful it is. The only way you can really embody this is to experience it. And I think everyone in the room would most likely agree. You can't read about design thinking. You can't take it out of a textbook. It needs to be embodied, it needs to be an experience, it needs to be lived, and it needs to be embedded in a design experience. So even the design program is co-designed by AUC and GT Africa and other universities. We contribute coaches, we contribute leads. We work together on a project that benefits so many people. And I'm hoping that this program will continue to grow, hoping we'll be able to scale it with time. And I'm inviting, new universities who have the capacity to provide opportunities for these students. Hopefully it will continue to grow. And it's one of the earliest achievements, I think, of the network. We have many, many more in store that Jenny's going to talk about, I'm sure. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hoda. So when what I really wanted to do, but our time has not quite worked out with this weaving performance experiment and our conversations, we wanted to now invite the DT in Africa partners who are here to come to the loom. And well, we don't have time for that right now. We'll invite you to do that later. But symbolically, we're saying you too have already contributed. You are part of this tapestry we've created already. And beyond that, there are others who have contributed. Where this network was really, where the seeds were planted was at Decon Festival 4 years ago, right here, where this was a D-School in collaboration with the GDTA hosting this conference. It was the third Decon Fest and the first time it was held in Africa, so we were really shining the spotlight on what does design thinking mean here and what does Africa's reality mean for design thinking. And at that session, we had, at that event, we had a strategic session with individuals invited, and for that, my intention is to invite others who were part of that. Felix, and Relitza was here, and I think Adrian from Nairobi Design, and others to come and weave into this tapestry as you've already woven. So Felix, we've learned so much from the Pan-African Design Institute, who has been part of so much inspiration to our network and how they operate. And from that point, we ran a stakeholder mapping survey and discovered, just through that first attempt, that first round, 51 institutions on the continent that were teaching design thinking. We wanted to discover what are they doing, how are they teaching it, in which curriculum, what do they struggle with, what do they dream of, what do they hope to gain from a network. And so we discovered many more, and that is how we came across African Nazarene University. And they started joining the African network conversation circles, and so got introduced to the GDTA. So that has been their journey. So from those stakeholders who first entered the circle and responded, we started prioritizing what is important, what do we need to work on together. And so we came up with a number of initiatives. So some of those initiatives are still ongoing, some are still in dream stage, some are at conceptual stages, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of those. But where we then paused was what we did next was to really just pause and reflect and see what are we doing and how do we really build and grow this network. So we've been really grateful for all that we've learned from Circle Generation, who I think are joining us online, who have really helped us understand that this network is not about what the D-School needs to do for the network or what the steward circle or steering committee needs to do and drive and coordinate. This is about really letting the network thrive by inviting you all into helping to shape it and making it what it is. So that was really important that we shifted away from that into decentralized leadership. And so what we have got to do going forward is inviting you to weave in so that we can do and be more together is one of our big projects, and I'll be speaking about it tomorrow, that we've been growing so far with a multi-institutional advisory group and collaborations from different people, is one of the needs in the network was to say we need African teaching and learning tools. We're drawing on examples from MIT or from D-School Stanford, and we're talking about design thinking in terms that are not familiar, that are not relevant to our students in Africa. So let's begin to draw up stories or cases that can be used to make design thinking really relatable and practical. So this project has been growing for a while, and we stepped into working with learning designers who have helped us shape it into some really rigorous teaching tools. And we've got a lot of people who have contributed, we've tested the stories, and this is just the beginning. So we'll tell you more about it tomorrow. But we really invite you to go and visit the website and check them out. And we're going into a testing phase. So we need people to tell us, what do you think? Does this work for you? Do you like the tools? Do you like the resources we've created? There are slide decks to use in classrooms. There are studio activities that have been designed. We invite more, Gordon, when we was working with us, and Gordon, you're in the weave, you're in the tapestry with this project. Gordon put up his hand and said, I'm passionate about cases and teaching cases. I'll help conceptualize this. And you said, oh, this lion light story is all about abductive reasoning. And I said, what? And so there's something new. So Gordon, my invitation is still out to you to write a piece for us to contribute to this on abductive reasoning. And Stephen teaches a lot about business model canvassing. Write a piece for us that goes with the lion light story. So that's the idea. Add, collaborate, connect. So that is the one way to get involved. And then we've also had a number of conversation circles where we come together online. Do you recognize anyone there in the pictures, Magendi? Yeah, there's Relitza. She was a wonderful moderator. Got a good screenshot of you there, huh, Relitza? So we really went quiet, and this is realizing that we need people to come together. So hosting more of these conversation circles, some of those that we've had. And as we said, one in Nairobi. We had a meetup in Nairobi where we met William. Where's William in the room? We met you, and then you met others in Nairobi, and now there's conversations going on there. So there's a little Nairobi hub emerging, and a Nairobi Design Thinking Association that's starting. So very exciting to see what's happened. And this, you can, but go to the D-School's website and find the Afrikan Design Thinking Network. You can find out much more there and see how you can get involved. And on there is a form which we invite you to complete. If you're really interested in being a member, you think you want to contribute and be part of this and step in, we invite you to complete the form there, through which we'll invite you into further collaboration and conversation circles and onboarding. And if you're not interested to kind of get too involved and get your hands dirty and play ball, but just want to come and learn and listen, you're welcome to subscribe to our newsletter where you'll be able to come and follow conversation circles, draw on the resources on the stories page, and that's it. So, we are very proud very humble, I must say. There's a lot of learning still going on. We're shaping this as we go, and we just really hope that we'll see more of you, more in the network, more people connecting with each other, and also through the GDTA. If you're interested in being a GDTA member, and I believe there are a number of universities who are doing really amazing teaching. We know that the international, the name, USIU, United States International University, Africa. You've got an incredible program going on. I think we've got another GDTA member in the rise there, perhaps, There are others among you. So please, bring your voices. Let us shape the global conversation with what we all have to offer. So I'm really humbled to play this role, to meet you all, and invite you to, through these 3 days, just keep connecting with each other. So when we finish today, we'll have a last moment with Annie to just wrap up and just count all the gems and insights we've gathered today to wrap up, and then we're going to be celebrating and inviting you to continue. If you brought some cloth, this is your moment to bring it in, or over the next 2 days, 3 days. All right. And thank you to everyone who contributed in this panel. Thanks for joining the dance. Thank you.